Hello, welcome to Thoughtful Thursday. I'm Amy.
I'm Lisa.
And we are here today with Romans 3. We're doing verses 22 and part of 25, through part of 25. We're going to end at the period. So we're going with redemption today. And so it's one of those that there are some big words that happen in the Bible, and kind of going through what that actually means to us and how that plays out in our lives. So we'll be right back with you in just a moment. So I love that we can go through these, and then there are different translations that we can hit up. And so this one's one of those that seeing those different translations is going to help in some cases, because there are some big words and some big thoughts behind them. So I'll let you start us off.
Okay. I'm actually going to start at verse 21 because it makes more sense if I do. Okay. In my mind, anyway.
Go for it.
But now, apart from the law, the righteousness of God has been made known, to which the law and the prophets testify. This righteousness is given through faith in Jesus Christ to all who believe. There is no difference between Jew and Gentile, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and all are justified freely by his grace through the redemption that came by Christ Jesus. God presented Christ as a sacrifice of atonement through the shedding of his blood to be received by faith.
Oh, yeah.
So go read a different translation, and
it's
helpful.
It definitely is, because I went through, this is NIV, I went through an AMP version, CEB, the Common English Bible is one that we tend to lean back on just as something a little more alliterated for our time and place. It doesn't mean it's better or worse, it's just a different way of viewing things. Right. And so as we're getting into these verses, it's talking about righteousness and redemption. So one of the things that I looked into was the way God says in went to John 3:16. So flipping back a few books, John 3:16, everybody, it's one of those that you memorize in elementary if you've been through that. And so, for God so loved the world, he gave his only son. But my favorite one is the one after it. It's verse 17, and it says, "For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save it through him." And so that saving, that's the part where I get redemption from, is that saving. And so the righteousness from Christ for all. And so what is righteousness, or redemption? What is redemption? There are two big words there. What is redemption to you?
I think it's a great question. This is why the translations, I think, are really helpful. So I use the New Living Translation, the NLT, and in there, it talks about how redemption is about being made right by God, so that if we are all sinners, we all fall short of that holiness, of that righteousness, then God gives us this gift of grace, that we, in accepting that gift, are made right by him, are justified in our relationship with him, and are redeemed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's where I said it's a gift. It is true, pure gift. And so as I go through that, and I know, okay, I have this moment where I have been redeemed by Christ, but I failed again. And so how we're moving forward, how you keep trying to steer back, I call mine a rut, because I like to be in the Christ rut. If I stray from his rut, then I'm off doing some other thing, and I'm not following his plan, and I'm not trying to be him or be like him. Anyways, I don't want to be him. That's
a lot of work.
That's way beyond what we're talking about. But to be like him and to be loving, and so I have to remind myself to steer back into his path. And so that redemption is nice because it's like, okay, yeah, he has given me this gift, but how do I remember to stay on that path? And so that's how that motivates me to change, motivates me to help others to see that redemptive quality in him. So that's kind of like the life changers we talk about here. So what does that redemption motivate for you, the change motivate for you?
That is a great question, and I think you're absolutely right to think about it as a journey, because it's not a one and done, right? It's that it is a constant struggle and reminder that I can do better, right? One of the things that I talk with the kids in DZ about, because we talk about this a lot and try to put it in kid terms, that what does it mean to have Jesus in your heart, right? And that's what redemption is really about, is making that space in your heart. And it makes us, with Jesus in our heart, it makes us able to shine that out to other people. Do we mess up? Yep. And we mess up when we're grown-ups, we mess up when we're kids. And I think this passage is really important because this particular passage in Romans, which is tough, reminds us that we can get back on track. There's a prayer that I use that is not a long prayer, a super short prayer, like when I know that this is, and it's just this: Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. And okay, take a breath and step out of wherever you are and step out from there.
That refocus. You're taking that moment to focus back in on the
right.
Christ that's inside you, so you can be that light again. So it's sometimes like that refocus. Sometimes you have camera lens. That's I work photography, and so that's kind of what that reminds me of. Is okay, you have to shift that gear shift that type of thing too. Shift that moment, and so that's a great way to think about that change in yourself, and that helps you motivate others too. As you talk about your DZ kids, that's an awesome thing. That being in with them and being able to show them that's a way that we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. That's it. That's one of those that is we all do. Oh, but there's light in that. There is that forgiveness and that moment where we can step back in and say, hey, I can still be on this journey with him, and so I can still be a light. And so as we do that, and you have your little prayer, and that's your reminder of your praising God for redemption. For me, I like the idea of the gifts, and so Derek talked about in his previous message this week about the mayor who was a magistrate, and then he went in and he gave the gift of what was being punished. He gave the punishment because, okay, she stole something, there needed to be a punishment for it, but then he took his own money and he paid that punishment. And so it's one of those that's okay, how can I praise God and do that for others? It doesn't always work in that same scenario, because there are lots of things that happen way beyond just like a theft that you pay $10 to redeem that theft. But there's still ways we can still be the love and the light while there's still justification and judgment for what we have here anyways, because that's been a long week for me. And so there's a whole story where we're trying to be right and be good and faithful and loving, but still be aware of what is going on around us too.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, so there's this sort of philosophy and process has been used for a long time in different groups of what we call restorative justice, out in the world,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So that's exactly what you're talking about, only it's what God does for us. So the idea of restorative justice is that we're accountable for our actions. And it's just as we're accountable for our actions in front of God. But the process of restorative justice is to not break bonds, but build bonds. Yes. And that's what this bridge of Christ does for us. It helps us keep that bond even when we fall short.
Yes.
with our actions.
Oh, absolutely. I love your little tweaks on things, because it reminds us of those bonds, of those. That's why you have other people around you.
Yeah.
That's why you have life group or your community, if you're in a church, or even just your community that you have for neighbors
Right.
and friends. Those are people that you can say, "Hey, rally around me. I need help," and that's what we need to be open about. It's not about closing yourself off to the world and saying, "No, I can't take this anymore." Sometimes you need a moment to breathe, but having somebody there to help you with that, having that bond, there's a bond with Jesus, there's a bond with your friends, and so that's amazing, and thank you for that. Insight is great when you start processing things through, and so that's an amazing place to go with today's. I am very thankful for that. Redemption. Righteousness. It's one of those that there is a lot that we could jam pack into it. We could talk even longer about it.
Yes, we could, and I think it's what's interesting about this concept is that it's to me it's an important constant reminder that the process of redemption is a personal process, and it's not. And certainly you want to shine that out to others, but to me it's also I'm not in a position to make judgments where you are, right? Because I also fall short, right? And so it's a very complicated idea, but simple in its truth, if that makes sense.
Oh yes, absolutely. I write blogs too,
Yeah.
so that was kind of where my blog went this week. Is okay, I can put all my sins out here, and I can say, hey, this is where I'm at, and people usually will look at you and go, oh, well, wait a minute, but that's not the goal. The goal is to go, okay, this is where you're at. Where can we get you?
Right.
And so that future look, that future of what we can do with Jesus is so important. So I love being able to be restored in that. And so, hey, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a great day today. I hope you have any questions, comments, anything. Put them in the comments below. We'd love to discuss it with you, whether it be next week or just in the comments as we talk throughout the next week. So thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Bye.